Yeah, let's talk to John, he, him from India.
Yeah.
Talk about creation. How are you, John?
Well, how about you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, so what did you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about the problem of evil question.
Okay.
Okay.
Mostly I feel like atheists only question the idea of problem of evil within the God thing, but they don't question themselves when it comes to creation. I believe in the sense like God creates human beings, and humans also create human beings through the act of reproduction, or if they have farm animals or something, they do artificial insemination or
John,
something, and they create
John, hang on.
animal beings.
John, hang on. Hang on just a second, John, because I
And
feel like maybe
yes,
we can kind of make this a little easier for us. I think you're using two different definitions of creation there, right? When God creates something versus human beings creating something, the actual connotation of those two words, while it's the same word, it
mm,
very much has a different focus. In one of those instances, we're talking about like a person, putting together the pieces to make a phone, right? We've got all the things
mm,
here in front of us, and we just have to follow the checklist and the step 1 and step 2 thing, and we can put the table together from IKEA, right? Um, when God is creating, very rarely is it in that manner, right? It's a totally different system. It's a totally different function. God is like snapping fingers, and existence is coming to be.
yes,
So, does that kind of help you understand a little bit more? Maybe if we separate
yeah,
those two concepts into two
yeah.
distinct categories, I think it makes sense why non-believers in a God would still think humans can make stuff, right?
No, in the sense, I don't say that humans are creating babies out of nothing or something like that. I am saying that
Sure.
they are through the like from matter to matter. What do you call that? I forgot the
It's like a
biological term for it.
recombination
Uh,
type of existing matter stuff. But yeah, I mean, you see how somebody who doesn't believe in a creator deity, like snapping
mm,
all of existence into
mm,
reality out of nothing, how that concept is different from us saying like we understand that people create, TV shows
yeah.
or babies and stuff. Do
But
you
my
see the
topic is
distinction there?
totally different. Yes, yes, I understood. My topic is about theodicy, and that's a problem of evil within the God thing. And
Are
another
you
thing
are
is the
you
problem of
switching to a are you switching to a new topic? I mean, we probably could let it slide,
no, no,
John,
no.
but we
I
do have other callers, and
I
I want to make sure
so
we're
I was I initially wanted to explain three types of creation to come to my problem, which was actually the problem of evil question. So my question, like three creations. Another thing is like third question is about creating a conscious AI question. So that comes under ethical AI, and within the case of humans, it comes under anthropodicy, and within the God thing, it comes under theodicy. So I want to talk about anthropodicy, which is like the problem of evil, or some people might call it anti-natalism. So if you don't believe in universal reconciliation or universal salvation, what justification do you have in bringing a new life into existence?
yeah, that was what the actual topic was. I'm glad we got to that, John. I can give you a really really simple answer, which is just pure selfishness. Just pure selfishness. Just there are human beings that wake up in the morning and are like, I want a family, and that's it.
Okay.
And that's the justification for people bringing children into the world. You don't need to believe in ex nihilo creation, which is what deity creation is. It's magic. You don't need to believe in that to have that feeling, right? I'm not saying like pure selfishness is the best way to live one's life or engage in society with other people, but like that is a justification, right? You would grant that, right? Because
Mm,
right there we have, again, it's not it's not the perfect answer that's all like philosophically worked out and all nice and pretty. But you can see how there are people that are just like, I like insert anything here. Like, I enjoy fuzzy cats that go meow, meow. And that's why I have a pet cat, right?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
also feel
So the idea of a magic ex nihilo creation doesn't really matter at all for this, does it?
yeah. So I also
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
God is a selfish being, like human. Even though I might be humanizing God here, I also feel like God is also a selfish being out there, just creating humans for
Well, that's
pure
God.
entertainment.
God can be selfish, but the issue is
Mm.
not really is God selfish. The issue is God there, right?
Well,
We
I
know
have
human beings exist, so that's.
Mm.
But go
I have
ahead,
a,
go
I have
go
a,
ahead, Ben.
I have a weird question maybe. So, because we're kind of relating the human intention with God's intention for creation. So if humans need to justify their reasoning for bringing a human into the world where there is suffering going on,
Yes.
do you believe that God created this world that we're in? Is God bringing in these people to the world of suffering?
In a sense, my belief in God is just based on wishful thinking and Pascal's wager. My belief in God is not based on some evidences or anything. Like, I feel like my idea of God might be similar to mainlanders' idea of God or something like that. But I feel like God might be a cruel person or some selfish being which brought humans into existence, and he made it possible in a sense like a blind person cannot understand color. Like the same way we are not able to comprehend God. God is incomprehensible, and we humans are just
So
imitating his cruel activity by creation.
so I'm a little confused. So if God is this potentially cruel deity that does what he wants and brings people into this world of suffering, then how come humans need to justify our bringing people into the world? Like, are we following after, like, are we supposed to be different than God? And supposed is probably not the best word there, but
We are made in
are
God's
we,
image.
are we
So,
deviating from God?
yeah.
Is it a good idea for us to deviate? Should we follow the cruel God? I'm confused as to how these relate.
So
Do we have more of a responsibility than the deity in this case?
yes, so these ideas mostly come from Gnostic Christians. So there are 2, 3, or 4 sects called Macronites, Encratites, who believed that the creation was an idea from my cruel God, and we should stop reproducing and save ourselves from hell. So the idea there is like humans are imitating the cruel God and doing that thing, and through our act of free will. So I believe that if we don't believe in universal reconciliation or universal salvation, we are just imitating the cruel God.
Oh, okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, please. There's
Okay.
a lot for me that
So
I have
yeah,
problems with.
yeah. So he's saying that if and correct me if I'm wrong, but if there isn't a universal salvation, if there isn't a way for everybody to be saved, then you are just enacting the same thing as this cruel God by continuing to bring people into the world. So I think you're wondering if we don't believe in this universal salvation, then how can we justify bringing more people into the world?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think the two
Yeah.
have anything to do with each other. That's kind of what I've said the whole time, John. I don't think the two have anything to do with each other. Whether there's universal salvation or not doesn't seem to come into play. And in fact, I could easily come up with lots of arguments that are focused on if universal salvation does exist, why we should kill everybody. Like, because if there is definitively the better place, that's just beyond the curtain into the shadow realm, what the fuck are we doing here? Why waste time with this whole, my tummy hurts thing, or I stub my toe every so often? That seems like a complete and total reversal If there is truly universal salvation, if there is truly an afterlife where myself and Ben will go and party and I will no longer have these rashes that he refuses to look at, if that's the case, what the fuck am I waiting for? Why the hell would I not want to get there? And I think that's one of the biggest problems about believing in this concept of an afterlife or universal salvation.
So the problem I find it here is like, let's take the example of Hitler might be. Like the Hitler's mother, she was a Christian, I guess. So she too decided to procreate without asking his, because it's impossible to ask a unborn being for its consent, right? So you are bringing a being into existence, and like through his act of free will. But like if we say that like there's a possibility of something going wrong, will you do that? Or even for like the Jewish people who suffered in Holocaust, right? Like just think about this thing, they suffered all those things and their death. I'm talking from a very nihilistic perspective here, and like we all suffer, we all hard work, and ultimately one day we all die. One day all human race goes extinct, and all our efforts go in it's become very meaningless, right? So what's the point in creating if you don't believe in something which gives you hope, universal? So my question really comes down
So
to
hold up, John. Hang on. Because having hope and believing in universal salvation again are just not the same thing. And I think one of the problems, it sounds like to me, the reason that this is a difficult topic for you is because you are conflating things that are not the same. They just aren't. I mean, that was where we first started with the idea of creation from humans and creation from a deity. Those are just not the same thing. And putting them on the same level and saying that they're the exact same definition is wrong. And the same thing is true for a couple of other things. And I understand this viewpoint. Many, many people that come from a background of faith and religion of whatever stripe have similar thoughts like this, where they're like, well, if there's no afterlife, if there's no God, how are you happy? And it's like, well, because those fucking things just aren't the same. For some people, they receive a lot of hope and a lot of happiness from faith in a religion, from a belief in a soul. And hey, if that's where it stops for them, that's great. That's awesome. Thank goodness they're not going out there and harming people or torturing them like many other believers are. But I'm still going to push back on that belief in the soul and nothing more, because I don't think there's any good reason to believe it. And I don't think we need to continue to perpetuate this idea that people have to have these types of magical thoughts for them to just be decent human beings or live a fulfilled life. And again, truly the idea that there is another chance, the idea that I can respawn better somewhere after this whole existence, I think that is the exact opposite of hopeful. I think that is tragic, because again, what the fuck am I waiting for? Why is anybody waiting for anything? If there for sure is that better thing that's just out there, we can just barely not reach it yet, then it seems to me like you don't have any hope at all. You don't have any purpose at all in this life. What you have is simply the dirty rags to wipe your feet on before you get to the better place. So I don't see it in the same perspective as you. And I think one reason that may be the case is because we're using terms just a little bit differently, and kind of separating those guys out from each other would be helpful.
No, I could say that when I say these three issues, one is theodicy, anthropodicy, and ethical AI problem. So we are comparing things at a different level, actually. So when it comes to God, I might call it omniscient. When it comes to this century human, we will say at some level of, in the scale of the omniscience, we might be at a good, at the lowest level, but still okay, right? So that level of creation. So I say, even though, so when it comes to the creating something out of nothing, It's something like omnipotent. We have some power, so we create it from our matter itself. So my question, I wanted to, these things are at different levels, but to the problem of evil when applied to humans come to the same problem of the religious question. And I don't believe this question is not just limited to Christians alone, because I see most of the anti-natalist community from atheistic communities, like the earlier atheists questioned religious people. Now anti-natalists are questioning atheists about their belief system. So I have many belief systems. One thing is among them is religious belief system. I believe that we have a lot of belief systems to survive in this world. Yeah.
Well, I think the discussion of the problem of evil and antinatalism, I think those are good topics for sure. And please, hang out with us again, John. Give us a call next week or the week after, or go hang out in the Fan Run Discord servers or the Facebook pages, because I think there would be a lot of good discussion. I know we mentioned this at the top, but I'll mention it again just because Ben is super cool. He is going to be a regular host here hanging out at Talk Heathen, and I will be too. So next time you see us on, please give us a call back and we'll continue those discussions. Okay, John, we're going to let you go for now though, so that we can hopefully get through a couple of others. All right.
Thank you very much for talking to me. And from your answer, I think the answer is pure selfishness to create human beings.
It was one answer, I think, that can quickly kind of quell most problems for people. People have a problem with selfishness, but like, I'm only here because I'm selfish. I wanted to hang out with you, Ben. Anyway,